My name is Eli Green. I've worked at first ARCO, then BP, then now Tesoro for 29 years.
You went on strike, your union went on strike. What was this strike about?
Well, the major issue in the strike is the question of safety. And our slogan, which really isn't a slogan, is safe refineries save lives. This is absolutely true and can be shown by the fact that the companies was attempting to take off of the table. They wanted to fight against no retrogression, which includes victories that we've won in the past, which includes process safety personnel, as well as a process safety representative, actually what it is. And process safety is the idea when there's something in the process which is off kilter, we have the right to go in and say, hey, no, you've got to straighten this out. Safety representative is someone who can go into a job where there's an unsafe process taking place and say, no, shut this down, we're going to investigate this, and we have that right under the agreement which ended, and we wanted to maintain that.
Now, there have been many explosions now, one after another, refineries. Are you saying that oil workers don't have the right to close down a dangerous refinery or a dangerous situation?
Well, they tell us, yes, anybody can stop an unsafe act. But we happen to know that unless you have the backup of the contract, that you would be subject to discipline if you go in and stop a process, attempt to do that, and the foreman comes out and says, or other supervisory personnel come out and say, no, you're going to keep this going. You would be insubordinate. But we have the process safety person who can come over and says, oh, no, we're going to take this to committee. Right now, you're going to stop this because it's the wish.
Is there a situation of intimidation and fear that if an oil worker sees a dangerous problem, he's fearful that if he does report it to OSHA, for example, that he'll be retaliated or she will be retaliated against? Is there a concern?
Well, that is a concern, especially when you're going out to the outside organizations, governmental organizations that are supposed to do the job. The idea that you would call in outside help is something that the companies really push back against. And as soon as there's something like a big accident, they'll come back and say, okay, everybody, we're going to have a company representative who's going to discuss this. And that in itself is an act of intimidation. So that's just an example.
So how long have you worked in the refinery industry?
Well, I've worked in the refinery industry approximately 30 years and 28 and a half years at the Carson refinery.
And has safety gotten improved? What's happened with safety in these refineries? Because it seems like there's explosions like regularly, once a week.
Well, that's uneven. Actually, where I work, the situation has gotten safer in that over the course of time there's been more repairs as a result of deadly explosions. The year that I came in, just the couple of months prior to that, there was an explosion which killed 6 workers at the ARCO. We would have explosion after explosion. I've jumped over the fence several times.
It's frightening.
And it is frightening. And as a result of regulatory decisions, as a result of pressure of the union, the insistence of the community, there has been improvement. But this is working with high temperatures, high pressure, the push to push out more product through. So the reality is the situation, again, with explosions going on a regular basis, it's really hard to say that it has improved to the degree possible. We have to keep the pushback going.
And right in the middle of the strike, there was an explosion at Torrance. What was that all about? What happened there?
Right. This is still under investigation. I have to say that right off the bat. But clearly, the unit that was under maintenance overpressured, blew the walls in different directions, virtually collapsed the unit. An issue here is who is at fault. There's a report, there's an investigation going on, but the workers on the scene say that they were ordered to do an act which they thought would be catastrophic, and it was in terms of that explosion. That's what we call a catastrophic explosion, blows up a whole unit like that.
And were they contract workers?
Again, I have to say this,
It's under
still
investigation.
under
But I
investigation.
mean, the issue of bringing in these non-union contract workers, is that a problem in the oil industry?
That is a problem in the industry. The whole question of the level of competency, the level of not being familiar with the equipment. These are not really cookie cutter units that you can just send in as this person is trained and do it, especially on the routine maintenance side. So we've been losing routine maintenance year after year after year. So part of our contract, and the discussions with the main company in this current round of negotiations, Shell Oil, there was an agreement that this question would be addressed.
And how long does it take to become familiar with an oil refinery? I mean, you can't just go in. I mean, like, does it take months, weeks to really learn how it works?
Well, it takes, we have a years-long apprenticeship program, of course. Then, of course, there's the real experiences, the on-the-job training, and that takes time. And the hiring, which has been slowing down, is something that we're very concerned about. We fight for prevailing wage, so that when they do bring in contractors, they can't bring in contractors at a lower wage, undermine the wages in the whole area. And that's one of the things that they were fighting against too, not to see prevailing wage as part of the
And there was a national agreement between the USW and the building trades. What was that all about?
Well, that was a question of contractors who had been crossing the picket lines of the building trades unions. And there was a group, an affiliated group in our local whose companies, not the workers themselves, but whose companies were known to cross these picket lines. So to have that group of workers in our local was, well, it was something which the building trades pointed to as we can't sanction a strike as long as they're there. And they were disaffiliated from our local.
Now, I mean, the other issue is a health and safety problem for oil workers, not just the community, but oil workers, cancer. Do you have problems with health and safety? I mean, you're working with toxins, and I mean, it's...
We work with some very dangerous materials. And the question of PPE, personal protective equipment, it doesn't always prevent you from over years and years and years of exposure from being affected by this. So this is very much a concern. And is something that we're very conscious of.
And how do you think the strike was? Well, you think it was successful, and what was your assessment of it?
Well, now remember, I'm from Southern California, and down there, our picket lines are still up. Our picket lines are still here in Northern California as well, up here in Martinez as well, because we haven't, to this point, with Tesoro, actually signed a contract. So the fight has been, it's been an inspiring fight. A whole new layer of workers have stepped up to the plate, taking on responsibility, leading the strike. The role of women was the thing that I thought was so outstanding. And at the two refineries, no female worker crossed the line. As a coworker of mine's wife put on on social media, the women of steel have stood up. So and that's been very inspiring.
And also some environmental groups, the nurses, different groups were supporting you and said that it's not just a steel workers or oil workers issue, it's a community, other labor and environment.
Right, the nurses were just key. Down in I know from my Southern California, the ILWU was key. We had teachers come out in the LA Unified. Teachers are looking to perhaps be forced out on strike next in the middle of everything that's been going down there. So.
Now, I mean, solidarity, it seems like the unions are all under attack. There's an effort to break unions, attack public workers. They want to have open shop states, right to work. Do you think the unions should go on the offensive, or what? It seems like, in general, nationally, the unions are pretty much on the defensive, and this is.
Well, that's one of the things that was so inspiring about our strike. Somebody has stood and turned and fought. One of the big industrial unions, under attack, said, no, we will, across this line, you will not step. And we turned and fought them when they thought that they were going to push us over. We're not pushovers. Fights inspire other fights. So we were out there swinging, and other people came to our aid, and hopefully this will be an example of what the union movement has to do, what labor has to do, reach out. And the whole question of organizing the unorganized, reaching out to other unions, reaching out to community groups. This is what is going to be key to revitalizing the labor movement and turning from the defensive to going on the offensive to defend the rights of and living standards of all workers.
So you think the oil companies were shocked that you stood up and fought them? Or
they certainly were shocked. They were expecting, first of all, they were expecting no fight at all. And then they were expecting that there would be mass crossings of the picket line. None of that happened, so they got a shock.
Okay, so you're optimistic that this is...
Yeah, cautiously optimistic, and looking forward to the conclusion of this fight and preparation for the big fights to come.